They called her Dulo, the quiet girl, with the green beads and silent eyes. She lived in the last hut before the river bend, where the wind always whispered louder and the trees never stood still. Nobody remembered seeing her laugh. Nobody remembered her playing like the other girls. But they all remembered the way she looked at Ogene. Ogene, son of the village blacksmith, tall, with a crooked smile and hands that smelled of iron and fire. He had a voice like drum beats and a laugh that made goats turn their heads. Everyone liked Ogene. Even the old women would offer him kola nuts before their own sons. And Dulo, she loved him. She never said it aloud, not once. But every market day, she waited by the river path, brushing the dust from her wrapper and tightening the green beads in her hair. And when he passed, she would smile just a little and look away before he could meet her gaze. But Ogene only had eyes for Anuli. Anuli the dancer, the girl with ankles that jingled when she walked and lips that curled like hibiscus petals. Her skin was the color of the ripe breadfruits, and her laughter could hush a baby mid-cry. She was everything Dulo wasn't: bold, bright, beloved. During the new Yam Festival, Ogene chose Anuli. He didn't announce it. He didn't have to. He just stood beside her during the moon dance, and the way he touched her waist made it known. Even the wind paused to watch. Dulo stood behind the crowd, her bare feet sunk in mud. She didn't move. Her eyes didn't blink. But the elders swore the night breeze turned cold only around her. Later, when the drums had stopped and the moon hung heavy and silent, Dulo walked to the river alone. They said she sat there till morning. But when the fishermen passed at dawn, they found her asleep beside a clay bowl filled with bitter kola and red sand. And just behind her, etched into the muddy river bank, was the shape of a face, grinning wide with no eyes. After that morning, something changed in Umechi. The wind lost its warmth. The dogs barked at night for no reason. And Dulo stopped blinking altogether. She still fetched water. She still swept her compound. She still sat on her mother's mat during evening tales, but it was like someone else was inside her, borrowing her skin. She smiled more now, but not the kind of smile that made people feel welcome. It was small, tight, crooked, like a thread being pulled too far. And the clay bowl never left her side. What is she feeding it with? Old Mama Nneka whispered one night, "That bowl isn't for food." But no one asked Dulo, not even the bravest boys who once teased her by the river. Not since one of them, little Ikena, went missing after daring to snatch her beads and call her the ghost bride. They found him 2 days later, curled beside a palm tree, mouth wide open as if mid-scream. Not a scratch on him, but his hair, just black before, was now as white as moon ash. He never spoke again. The elders gathered at the shrine. They poured libation. They spoke the names of their fathers. They asked the spirit for clarity, but the wind only laughed. Meanwhile, Ogene and Anuli's love grew stronger. They walked hand in hand down the hill's path, their laughter echoing through the bamboo groves. And Dulo watched, always from a distance, always with the bowl in her hand. until the night Anuli fell sick. It began with a fever, then rashes, then something worse. Dreams that made her scream in her sleep, calling names no one recognized. The herbalist came, shaking his head before even stepping inside the hut. "She has been marked," he whispered. "By who?" "Not by who," he said slowly. "By what?" That night, Anuli's father poured salt in a cycle around their compound. Ogene stood watch till dawn, machete in hand. But just before the cocks crowed, he heard it, faint, almost kind. A girl's voice humming from the hill behind the house. And in the morning, the salt line had been broken by a single barefoot print, leading in and none leading out. At dawn, the village awoke to silence, not the usual sleepy hush of early morning, but a tight, suffocating quiet. Even the trees refused to sway. Even the birds, ever restless, watched from their branches without sound. Inside Anuli's hut, Ogene sat beside her, sweat clinging to his chest. His eyes were heavy, but he hadn't slept. All night, that humming cycled the house. And when he finally dared to look out, there was nothing but grass. And that one muddy footprint leading straight through the salted line. Anuli's skin had grown cold. Her lips cracked. And though her eyes opened, they stared past him, like she was looking through water. She called a name in her sleep, he told the priestess that morning. "What name?" she asked, clutching her staff tighter. Ogene hesitated. It didn't sound human. The priestess lowered her gaze. Then it likely wasn't. That same day, Dulo stopped coming to the river. She no longer fetched water, no longer walked through the market square, but her door was always open, and inside, the villagers whispered. The clay bowl now glowed faintly, like embers not meant for this world. The children stopped playing near her hut. Even the flies refused to enter. Ogene couldn't take it anymore. That night, he went to see her, alone. He found her sitting in the center of her room, her face turned toward the bowl. She didn't blink. She didn't move. Only the tips of her fingers tapped the earth in a rhythm he couldn't place. "Dulo," he said. She smiled, slowly. He stepped closer. "What did you do to her?" Dulo tilted her head. "You asked the river why it floods. Do you ever ask it what was taken first?" "I never hurt you," he said. She stood. Her voice came out soft, almost sweet. "But you never loved me." Ogene felt the room grow colder. "She danced in your arms. I danced in the dark." In one motion, she turned the bowl towards him. Inside it, something moved. Something black and wet, pulsing like it breathed. "You gave your love to the sun," she whispered, "so I gave mine to the thing beneath the hill." Ogene stumbled back, and then she spoke the name, the forbidden one. The one the elders erased from their songs. The fire in the hearth flickered. The earth beneath them groaned like it remembered something ancient. And far up on Umechi Hill, a crack split the earth, and the second moon rose, pale and dripping. By morning, the second moon still hung in the sky. It did not move. It did not fade. And unlike the real moon, it dripped. A thick black liquid poured slowly from its underbelly, vanishing before it touched the ground. But the smell? It spread, bitter, metallic, like burnt palm oil and old blood. The elders gathered once more, this time not at the shrine, but around the village fire. Even the oldest, blind Baba Emenike, was carried out on a mat. He was the only one who had seen the last second moon. As a boy, during the famine of 4 deaths, he wept bitterly when he smelled the air. It is back, he croaked, and this time it has been fed love. Ogene didn't sleep. After Dulo spoke the name, he had run past the spirit tree, past the boundary stones, and all the way to the priestess' hut. His voice cracked as he told her everything. But she did not answer. She was already packing her calabashes. "You're leaving?" he shouted. "You are abandoning us?" The priestess paused. Her white eyes met his. "The land has already been claimed. Umechi belongs to something older now." Meanwhile, Anuli had vanished. Her mother swore she never left the bed, but when she rose that morning to boil water, Anuli was gone. Her wrapper lay folded. Her anklet, which never left her feet, now rested on the doorstep. And her footprints, that led straight up Umechi Hill, where no one dared walk. No one except Dulo. For the first time in days, she stepped out from her hut, her green beds glinting in the grey light. Children screamed and fled. Women spat behind their teeth. But Dulo kept walking toward the hill, barefoot, bowl in hand. "She's taking the offering back," someone whispered. "No," said Baba Emenike, his voice cracking like dry firewood. "She's become the offering." That night, as the second moon paused above the hills, the drums in Umechi stopped. The dogs lay flat. The spirits of the earth folded their wings. And from the hilltop, a new sound rose. Not humming, not crying. Laughter, but not from Dulo. But not from Dulo. From something that had waited for centuries. The laughter rolled down Umechi Hill like thunder wrapped in silk. At first, they thought it was Dulo, but those who had heard her voice before, soft, low, careful, knew it wasn't. This laughter was sharp, hungry, unclean. It echoed off the trees and into their bones. Ogene stood at the base of the hill, machete in hand, chest heaving. He had followed the footprints, Anuli's and Dulo's. He had nothing left to lose. His love was gone. His peace was shattered. And now the villagers watched him as if he was already dead. So he climbed. The trees grew taller the higher he went. The air thickened. The wind turned sluggish, as if time itself hesitated to continue. Halfway up, he saw the anklets, still warm, still jingling faintly. Anuli's. They were placed carefully on the flat stone behind a carved figure, its face featureless except for a wide grin. He stepped over it, then the ground breathed. Back in the village, the priestess stood at her doorway, one hand gripping her staff, the other shaking salt into a wide cycle. She began to chant, not to the gods of Umechi, not even to the spirits of the forest, but to the nameless. It was her last resort. I was foolish, she whispered. I thought it was love, but it was never love. It was envy wearing love's skin. At the top of Umechi Hill, Ogene found her, Dulo, or what looked like her. She stood barefoot beneath the second moon, her green beads now soaked in something dark and wet. The clay bowl was shattered at her feet. Her eyes no longer silent, bound with something alive. Behind her, Anuli hung suspended in mid-air, eyes wide open, her feet not touching the earth. Let her go, Ogene shouted. Dulo turned and smiled. But her smile stretched, farther than a human mouth should stretch. Then she spoke, but not with her voice. With all the voices of the women who had ever stood in the shadow of unreturned love. The scorned, the silenced, the ones who smiled and waited, only to be forgotten. We never die, the voices said. We wait. Ogene charged. His machete met her neck, but the blade passed through like smoke. And then she wore Anuli's face. In the village, babies woke, screaming. Water turned cloudy. Chickens laid eggs with no shell. And in the sky, the real moon blinked out just for a moment. The villagers say the sky bled that morning, not with rain, not with fire, but with a single tear-shaped cloud, red and thick, falling silently from the second moon before it vanished forever. They say it landed on Umechi Hill. They say it swallowed everything. But the truth is darker, because someone came down the hill and it looked like Ogene. Before the cloud fell, before the earth opened its throat, Ogene stood beneath the howling grain of the spirit that wore Dulo's face. He tried to speak, to beg, to scream Anuli's name, but his voice had been taken, swallowed. His machete lay on the ground, rusting before his eyes. Anuli's body hung still, the whites of her eyes glowing faintly blue. She had not meant for it to go this far. She had only wanted to be loved. But envy is a doorway, and some doors should never open. Ogene ran. With Anuli in his arms, he did not look back. Behind him, the hill collapsed inward like a dying star. In the weeks that followed, the village changed. The wind was warm again. The dogs barked normally. The children laughed. But Ogene was not the same. He buried Anuli beside the river, even though her body never decayed, her skin still warm. He said she breathed once, just once, before going still forever. Dulo's hut was burned. Her name was struck from every story. But at night, when the moon is full, villagers say they see a girl with green beads standing at the edge of the river, not crying, not smiling. And sometimes behind her, something grins wider.